Today we'll be looking at the 2013 CSEC Biology past paper, the multiple choice paper, which of course is paper number 1. We will seek to answer and explain the questions as are outlined on the exam paper. So question number 1, which of the following organism occupies the fourth trophic level in the food chain below? Now, each organism in a food chain represents a trophic level. That makes 1, 2, 3, 4. Hence, the fourth trophic level is going to be the arc, and your answer there is A. Number 2, which of the following describes a relationship which involves two species such that one partner benefits while the other, though not benefiting, is unarmed? I like to say that is textbook. That is pretty much a definition or how we would define commensalism. So your answer there is going to be C, commensalism. 3. If all the trees in a large area of a forest were wiped out by a disease, what would be the most likely effect on the composition of the air? Now, our answer there is going to be D, the level of carbon dioxide would increase. Now, the level of carbon dioxide would increase in the area because trees are considered to be carbon sink. So what happens is that the trees would have been expected to be removing carbon dioxide from the air for photosynthesis and actually to store this carbon in the plant. So if we were supposed to remove the trees from the area, then the level of carbon dioxide in that particular area, the level of carbon dioxide would increase. On to question number 4. Which of the following leaves does not have a net venation? Now, net venation is something that is pretty much confined to dicot leaves, and all these leaves here you can see they're having what we call net venation. Of course, the small details are not drawn. Now here we have B with parallel venation. The veins are running beside each other. So your answer here is going to be B, as the question says, not, right? Does not have net venation. So that's a monocot leaf, like a cane, a grass, bamboo, that type of thing. So your answer is going to be B. B is the one there that does not have net venation. Alright, move on down to question number 5. And question number 5 is about a food web, right? A herbivore, carnivore, and omnivore respectively. Alright, herbivore. Let us not confuse ourselves. These are not herbivore. These are actually our producers. So our herbivore are going to be the first line here in most cases. So here we're going to be having our herbivores. So the herbivores are going to be the goat, the grasshopper, the caterpillar, and of course our carnivore are going to be those that are eating the first set of animals here, and in this case it's going to be your lizard, your chicken, your hummingbird, wow, as it were, for this food web. And then we want to look at our omnivore. Oh wow, omnivore. The thing about this food web, I would say we would have been expecting a arrow to come from a plant and an animal to the omnivore. We are not having that. We have a grasshopper, goat, caterpillar here. So then you have to draw on prior knowledge to say that your omnivore, the organism that would be eating both plant and animal, all right, meat and plant, that would have been our human. So our answer here is going to be A, goat, lizard, man. So goat is your herbivore, lizard, carnivore, and man, of course, the omnivore. Let's move on to question number 6. Question number 6 The variation in cellular structure found in any complex organism is due to the process called, we could call it cell differentiation or cell specialization, where cells actually grow into performing specific function, as we would have had the nerve cell, the sperm cell. All of those would have been example of specialized cells. So our answer here is going to be D, specialization. Let's move on to question number 7. Question number 7, which of the following statement is not true about osmosis and diffusion? And of course, we are looking at not. You want to pay attention to the word not in your question, as it were, for this question. And I selected B. Both process requires energy to move particles across a concentration gradient. Now you'd understand that osmosis and diffusion, they are both types of passive transport, so there is no need for energy to move them. That is something that would have been confined to passive transport. So here our answer is going to be B. Let's move right along to question number 8. Question number 8. When compared to a cheek cell, a muscle cell contains what? More mitochondria, and this is something that is typical for muscle and liver cells. So our answer here is going to be mitochondria. We could say this one is straight from the textbook. The answer for question number 8 is going to be mitochondria, and that's going to be C. So we're moving right on to question number 9. Question number 9, autotrophic nutrition does not occur in. Alright, the first thing we need to know about autotrophic nutrition is that autotrophic nutrition is something that is confined to organisms that make their own food. Now, a moss would have some amount of chlorophyll. A tomato plant, the same. Blue-green algae would have been able to do pretty much the same thing. Well, however, if we look there at B, the zooplankton is actually a microscopic animal. So the animal would not be carrying out autotrophic nutrition. Of course, one might say you have chemosynthesis and photosynthesis. But in this case, our best answer, I think, would have been the zooplankton, which is a microscopic animal living there in the water, would be getting food from the water, all right, but not really making its own food. Question number 10. The following chemical equation is incomplete for photosynthesis. Which of the combinations shown below would accurately complete the equation? It's very important that we pay attention to this word, accurately. Now right away, because you are so bright, I think you would up on to suggestion D, which says carbon dioxide. And because of course we need carbon dioxide X, and we're going to have we are going to need carbon dioxide here, and we're going to need oxygen here. So your answer you would choose is carbon dioxide and oxygen. But then you have to look at the word accurate. This is a balanced equation. So it's going to be 6 carbon dioxide, and then we are going to have 6 oxygen being produced here for a balanced equation. So our answer, the best choice here, is going to be B and not D. Alright? That's the explanation there. Accurately, we have to look at that. Now, item 11 refers to the following experiment. A green and white variegated leaf is exposed to sunlight. Look at that, sunlight, exposed to sunlight for 3 hours, and then tested for starch. So we're testing for starch. The results of the test are shown in the following diagram. Here we have the leaves. This area here was green, and the other areas are definitely white. Now at the end of the experiment, the green area returned a blue-black color here, and we know that blue-black is suggesting that there is starch. And then the white area took the color of the iodine. Now let us see what's happening down here. Now, based on the experiment, which of the following factors are necessary for photosynthesis to take place? Now, if this green area here is showing that starch is present, and the white area is saying that there is no starch present, the first thing we know is that chlorophyll is a part of our answer. However, all the suggestions here have two answers, so we have to go for something else. So we have chlorophyll here, and if we go back to the question, we would realize that sunlight is the other thing being sought. So our answer here is going to be light and chlorophyll. Alright, so C is your answer for that particular question. Question number 12. Which of the following structure found in the leaf of a flowering plant contain chloroplasts? Alright, so we're looking at the mesophyll layer. And you thought the mesophyll layer has the spongy and palisade mesophyll. Then we have the epidermis, and we have the guard cell down the bottom, stomata there, and we have the vein. So our most suitable answer is going to be the mesophyll layer and of course the guard cells. So our answer is going to be B. Alright, that's where we would find the chloroplasts. Not in the vein and not the epidermis. You know, the epidermis has a is a protective layer above the palisade mesophyll, so not there. Alright, so question number 13 refers to the following information. A man has poor night vision and his gums bleed whenever he brushes his teeth. Which two vitamins are most likely lacking in the diet? So we know already that for night blindness it's going to be vitamin A, and we're thinking now about scurvy, it is vitamin C. So our answer here is going to be C and A. Of course, your answer is going to be C. Alright? And number 14, the part of a gut into which bile empties is the remember, the gut is just another name for the alimentary canal. Alright, and they say that start from the buccal cavity to the anus, or from the mouth to the anus. Alright, so that area is called the duodenum. The duodenum, and you'll see this in a diagram of the digestive system. So your answer here is D, the duodenum. Question number 15. Which of the following is an effect of nicotine found in cigarette smoke? Alright, this one pretty easily is increase the heart rate. These are like listed in your textbooks. It increases the heart rate. That is what nicotine does. Not so much increase the beating of the cilia. No, it doesn't do that. Reduce oxygen transport. That is something that is going to be confined to carbon monoxide, which the carbon monoxide itself adheres or form bond very easily with the hemoglobin, more readily than oxygen. So our answer here is going to be A for question 15. Question 16 refers to the following characteristics. Fin wall surfaces, excellent blood supply, always moist, large surface area. This suggests to me we're talking here about a respiratory surface. Now the characteristic describes structures that are most likely to be associated with diffusion of gases. So we talk about respiratory surfaces, respiratory area, and those would of course be associated with the diffusion of gases. So the answer there is A. Question number 17. Alright, question number 17 refers to the following apparatus set up to test for the production of the products of aerobic respiration. So we're looking at a nice setup there. Soda lime there is supposed to remove carbon dioxide so as to prevent poisoning had it been an animal. And what we want to know for 17, the solution in jar Z should be, the solution in jar Z should be calcium hydroxide lime water. That is because it is testing to see if carbon dioxide is produced during respiration. If you observe here, there is a black cloth around this jar and there's a plant in it. So this reduces what would have prevented or stopped photosynthesis from taking place because there is no light. However, respiration is still taking place, so of course we would expect some carbon dioxide to be given off, and as such it would come in this jar. So we are looking to see if we are going to get that there, and if carbon dioxide is present, then it's going to turn this calcium hydroxide or lime water milky. So our answer there is C. Answer for 17 is C. 18. The right ventricle of the heart collects blood from the, don't do that. Don't jump to vena cava. Pay attention to this part here. Not just right, but what part of the right? The ventricle. And above the ventricle, you are going to have the atrium. So your answer there is going to be C for 18. Then we go on to 19. Which of the following sets of characteristics is true for white blood cells? Alright, so white blood cell, there are different types of white blood cell. That's true. White blood cell, they have cell wall. No, that is something confined to plant cells. White blood cell, do they have nucleus? Yes, we have the lymphocyte and the phagocyte. Yes. So our answer here is going to be D for 19. Let's move on to question number 20. Item 20 refers to the following diagram, which shows cells from the stem of a plant. And obviously here this is a phloem cell, and on the side of the phloem we are expecting to have the companion cell. So the part labeled X is going to be the companion cell, and so our answer there for 20 is going to be D. Question 21. Under which of the following condition will the rate of transpiration in impatient plants be the highest? Alright, so on a sunny day, you're going to have your stomata open. Outside of that, the whole effort of cooling the plant, then the water will be coming up into the plant, and wind of course is going to cause those water molecules, those particles, to move much faster. So your answer here is going to be B for 21. Then we are going to up on over to 22. Which of the following organism has the least need for a transport system? Now we're selecting the amoeba here. The amoeba, we looked at amoeba when we looked at microbes, and when we looked at the need for a circulatory system at the start of it, circulatory system, you would find we're looking at the volume to surface area ratio, that type of thing. So here the amoeba does not require a complex circulatory system because it's very small. When you look at the volume to surface area, then you find that it would have been easy for diffusion to take place. Now 23. So the answer for 22 is going to be A, as is selected there. 23. Which of the following storage organs characterize the Irish potato? Alright, the Irish potato, don't mix this up now. The Irish potato is a stem tuber. So our answer is going to be D. While sweet potato is root tuber. So sweet potato, root tuber. Irish potato, stem tuber. Alright? 24. Excretion is important in living organisms because metabolic waste products can poison living organisms, and we know that to be a fact. So we have to have excretion taking place, or else we could be harmed by the waste product if it's allowed to build up. So our answer for 24 is going to be D. 25, which of the following would not represent a form of excretion in plants? And remember the word not. All here else C. So your answer is going to be C, water vapor diffused through the epidermis. And we spoke about the epidermis earlier. Just above the epidermis would have the waxy cuticle, so we wouldn't have water really diffusing there. The bulk of that diffusion thing taking place through the stomata, which are concentrated on the lower side of a leaf. So 26 we are at now. 26 refers to the following diagram of the kidney tubule, or you want to call it the nephron, whichever one you want to call it. So the glomerulus filtrate in eye contains salt, water, urea, glucose. Now, of course, you would not have urine in it. So wherever there is urine, that is not true. You would find urine somewhere over here in the collecting duct, all right? So you wouldn't find urine over here. It would have been somewhere over here, if any at all, over here. All right, let's move on. 27. The main function of cartilage at the end of long bones is to reduce friction. Cartilage at the end of the bones, that's textbook again, is supposed to provide that cushion effect to reduce friction, prevent the bones from rubbing together. So our answer for 27, of course, is going to be B. Question number 28, which of the following correctly describes movement in plants? All right, so we're looking at movement in plant. Now, if it's a growth movement, look at the comma in this suggestion. Growth movement is usually irreversible. So it's irreversible growth movement. All right. Now I have seen this question on other papers, pretty much the same question, but the answers are somewhat slightly different. Our answer here is going to be C for question 28. Let's move to question 29. Now, question 29 refers to the following diagram of a thoracic vertebra. Now, nervous tissue is found, of course, at 3. That is the area through which you would have all the nerve passing through, the spinal nerve passing through. All right. This bone here happens to be one that really loves the paper, so it's always there. So our answer there is 3. And again, this is a textbook. If you were supposed to look at the skeletal system, you would see this diagram, and it is straightforward there. All right, so item 30 refers to the following diagram of a longitudinal section through a human eye. Now, at what point is vision not possible? All right, just right here where the optic nerve leaves the eye. So here it's going to be D for your answer. All right, D for the answer there. And why D for that answer? Because right here is where you would find your rods, a high concentration of rods and cones around this area, not here. All right. 31 refers to the following diagram of germinating seedlings treated as shown. Now the first one, tip cut off and replace on agar. All right, so agar is this thing with some amount of auxin that will promote growth. Tips cut off here, nothing is on it, so you understand the area that promotes growth is not there now once the tip is removed. Tip covered with aluminum foil, so it won't really respond to sunlight because it's a dark area. And then we have a plant that is not affected. All right, so we have light coming through one side. Now at the end of 1 week, which ceiling would bend towards the light? So we know here that growth is still being promoted with the acre block, so this is definitely going to be 1. And this plant is unaffected, so it's just going to bend on over like any plant, the sunflower, so on, bend towards the light. Of peas, if you had a pea grain plant in a cup and it was at the window, it would bend to the light. So our answer is going to be A for 31. Let's run on down to 32. Now this can be a very tricky one and you need to pay attention. It's a item 32 refers to the following diagram. Now look at the diagram, the numbering 1, 3, 2. It's not 1, 2, 3. That's the first thing we need to look at, measurement and manipulation. Alright, so we could identify this to mean a lot of things before we get to the question. We could call this the connector relay or intermediate neuron. We could call this here the motor neuron, and we could probably call this the sensory neuron. But you don't see the cell body on it, so we don't even want to go there with calling them those fancy names. Let us look at what they have. Alright, so the numbered structures are, let us look at 1. 1 is coming from a muscle or going to a muscle. And going to a muscle or a gland, then we can think about the effector. So it's going to be one of these. Alright, let us look at 2. This is coming from the skin of a hand, so this is definitely going to be what is picking up the information. So it's going to be our receptor. So here we have receptor, but the easiest to determine of all was 3. 3 was our relay, intermediate, or connector neuron, whichever one you want to call it. So our answer definitely is going to be D for 32. We move on to 33. 33. Which of the following are most likely to cause improper function of the eye? Alright, so that is going to be weak ciliary muscles, and 2, lack of vitamin A. Now the ciliary muscle, they are connected to the lens. So if they are weak, you understand that the lens will not be able to adjust as it should. So as such, you are going to have some problem with seeing distant or near object. One of them will be affected. Alright, so your answer there is going to be A. 34. Which of the following endocrine gland is found in the brain? Now that is going to be the pituitary gland. It's the master gland. It's found, of course, let's say up in the brain, the thyroid gland in the neck, adrenal gland are over the kidney, that type of thing. Alright, 35 refers to the following diagram of a vertical section through the skin. This diagram, you have to remember this diagram from the textbook. Which structure above will be involved in temperature regulation if there is a decrease in external temperature? Alright, so your answer there is going to be B. Alright, so the ear follicle there, if the temperature was supposed to decrease, the ear follicle would need to be erect to trap air over the skin. So that makes I one of your answer. And of course 4, the blood vessels over there would of course sink deep into the skin to conserve or to retain temperature, keep the body warm. So our answer here is going to be, for 35, it's going to be B. For 36, a method of contraception that protects against both disease and pregnancy is the use of a condom. Every time it's going to be the use of a condom, because pretty much it covers the male organ, thus forming a barrier between male and female reproductive organs. So B is going to be your answer for 36. For 37, the endocrine gland located in the neck produces the hormone thyroxine. That is correct, because it's a thyroid gland that is in the neck. 38. Which of the following is not a benefit of asexual reproduction in plants? Look at the word asexual. A wide variety of offspring. Now you talk about variety. Now this variety is going to be confined to sexual reproduction, and here it is asexual. So our answer is going to be A, as it is not. Alright, we move on to 39. Now 39 to 40 refers to the following diagram of a female reproductive system. Now in answering item 39 to 40, match each item with one of the options above. Each option may be used once, more than once, or not at all. So for 39, which structure, the structure where the egg is fertilized. So 39 is trying to find out where is the egg fertilized. So it's going to be A, the fallopian tube here. Alright. B, the structure where the ova is produced. And it is right here. Ovary. Right there. That's where it is produced. So B is going to be the answer for 40. For 41, seeds from the same pod were planted under the same condition. Oh, a lot of same here. The plant which grew from them appeared to be very similar. What is the most likely explanation for this occurrence? I chose A. The plant may have been self-pollinated. Now, if the plant is self-pollinated, we want to talk about conserving that hybrid quality. So because it is self-pollinated, more than likely, most of the offspring will somewhat look the same. There will be variation, but of course, they will look somewhat the same. Alright, so our answer there is going to be A. Same mother and father, the children must have something in common. Alright, 42. Nice one again. This one is from the textbook, probably straightforward. Which of the following fruit is dispersed by animal? Alright, so if you look here, this has some hooks on it that would make it very easy to adhere to the clothing or the wool of animals, that type of thing. Here we have explosion. This could be wind, and this of course would be wind, but this is definitely animal, and this is our legume explosion. Alright, so our answer here is going to be C for 42. Let's move on. 43. Which of the following are true about production of gametes in human? Alright, so I chose A. Let me see, why did I? Male produce more gametes than female. Yeah, there's way more sperms to one. There's way more sperm being released at any time than would, of course, been an egg. And I chose 3. Males produce gametes for a longer period of your life than their female. Yes, that is true. In most cases, I think the oldest woman I have heard of, I'm not too sure, is about 78, having a child. And I think the youngest woman was from Costa Rica, about 5-year-old. She had a child. I think that is the the best memory I have of women giving birth, 5-year-old to 78, and men tend to get kids even older than 78. So I chose A for the answer for 43. 44. Which of the following statements about meiosis is not true? I chose D. Chromosome number is maintained. No, the chromosome number is not maintained. Once it is meiosis, the chromosome number is half. So you're going to get 23 from mom, 23 from dad, and not the 46 would move on as it would have been for mitosis. So here for 44, your answer is going to be D. For 45, an example of discontinuous variation. Now, variation can either be continuous or discontinuous. For discontinuous variation, simply put, it is a yes or no case. It's either you can twist your tongue or you can't. It's either a cattle has a horn and it doesn't have a horn. For continuous variation, there is continuity. I like to say 1, 1.5, 1.6, 1.7, 1.8, that type of thing. But now we're looking at discontinuous variation. So I chose D, the presence of horn in cattle. Now the other answers, intelligence, could be related to continuous. The size of a leaf have varying size, so it is going to be continuous. Now eye color has varying color, so again that is going to be continuous. So the only answer, only possible answer here for 45 is going to be D. 46. Now, which of the following terms refer to visible characteristics of living things? Visible, what you can see. Now, from genetics, we know that I like to talk about, if we're talking about the lettering, that part that you can't see, that form that cause you to look or have the particular characteristic, it's going to be the genotype. But that which you can see is going to be the phenotype. So you have brown eyes, dark skin, long hair, short hair, blue eyes, whatever. Phenotype is going to be your answer for 46. So the answer there is B. Alright, so we move on down now to 47. 47 says a guinea pig rough coat is dominant to smooth coat. If two heterozygous rough coat guinea pigs mated, they would most likely produce. Alright, good. So here we cross to heterozygous, and heterozygous, I just use T to represent. So I said big T, little t, big T, little t, big T. So we have big T, little t, and I did the cross here. So here you can see what the results are. So this is recessive, so this one won't have rough coat. But inheritance of dominance, the rule states for inheritance of dominance, once the allele for the dominant trait is expressed, then the organism will come with that phenotype. So here we are having all these three, they are going to be having rough coat. So let us see what's the answer I chose. So D, more rough coat offspring than smooth coat offspring. Good. So there we have only one smooth coat and 3 rough coats. So 47, your answer is D. 48. Human beings have been able to develop many species of plants and animals with beneficial characteristics. This process is called artificial selection. It is all artificial, and of course we select what happens. Outside of that, it is going to be human beings have been able to develop many species of plants and animals with beneficial characteristics. Other than that, you are going to look at genetic engineering. But here, your best or most suitable answer is going to be A, artificial selection. We selected it, we did it. Alright? Nothing about that is natural. Not fertilization. And of course it falls under genetics, but no, not a good answer. Alright, 49. In which of the following parts of a plant does the process of mitosis occur? Mitosis. So you know that mitosis is going to move on the diploid number of chromosomes, the full number. So it's not the phloem out, not the xylem out. Region behind the root tip, that is where you're going to have the bulk of the growth taking place. So D is going to be our answer. Sorry, C is going to be our answer here. D, the region behind the root ear. The region behind the root ear is going to be the soil. So that is sort of out. So best answer for 49 is going to be C. I did answer all the questions before I recorded this. Alright. So item 50 to 51 refers to the following. Alright. A, B, C, D, host, vector, parasite, pathogen. Alright. In answering item 50 to 51, match the following statement to one of the options above. Each option may be used once, more than once, or not at all. An organism which causes a disease is a pathogen. Whatever organism that causes a disease, it's a pathogen. So the answer for 50 is going to be D. 51. An animal which carries disease causing organism but is not adversely affected by it is going to be B, a vector. And again, these are straightforward from your text. And 52. Which of the following are involved in the formation of blood clots? You'll remember platelets. Alright? Platelets, they are involved in the formation of blood clot. And you'll find that in your textbook, if you look at circulation, there's a night, or you look at blood types and components of a blood, that type of thing, you'd find something on platelets telling you what they do. Alright, 53. Which of the following method may help to reduce the spread of disease caused by insect vector? Alright, this is a very tricky one, and I am going to explain to you how I arrived at my answer. Now, sterilization could mean two things here. It could mean sterilizing something as you would have sterilized the baby bottle with hot water, that type of thing. It could mean that. Sterilization could also mean, as they did sometime in Jamaica with the screwworm fly, you perform some modification on the organism so that it is not able to reproduce. So if it is not reproducing over some time, then the population will reduce or eventually be wiped out because they can't produce an offspring in order to continue their species. So sterilization, that is two-way. If the organism is wiped out, of course it cannot spread the disease over time. Now, if you sterilize the bottles, and for example a fly was carrying the pathogen, then once it is sterilized, then it would not spread, it would stop there. Let us move on to 2, the use of insecticides. Now, if we use insecticide as we do with the fogging of the mosquitoes, right, then we would have the mosquito dying, and the chances of them passing on a disease to a human, that would have significantly reduced. So insecticide could also help to stop the spread. Now, if you think about the use of disinfectants, whatever type, as it is for COVID now, they are saying use alcohol base and that type of thing to treat with the COVID. But in all cases, any public health organization will always tell you to practice proper hygiene, and a part of practicing proper hygiene is to ensure that you are disinfecting the area, you are keeping the area clean and sterile, that type of thing. So because of that, all these three to me would have been good ways to stop the spread of disease caused by an insect vector. All right, so to just actually use insecticide, that is just one way, I think. So I don't think that B would have been the best answer, and I think, of course, 3 has a space therein. So D, I chose D for 53. Now, if you have some other reason, feel free to leave it in the comment. We can discuss and see your view as it relates to question 53. Remember, you can always leave your suggestion, whatever they are, in the comments, and I'll definitely respond. 54. It is believed that AIDS is not transmitted by sharing food with an infected person. No, AIDS is not transmitted like that. The most suitable answer here is going to be B. Now, persons are going to say that, but a woman get pregnant and when she gives birth, the baby does not have AIDS and that type of thing. But it is also true that the HIV from the mother can be transferred from the mother to the fetus through the placenta. That is a well-known fact. You could research that on Google and you'd see that that can happen. So our best answer here is going to be B. 55, you can reduce your likelihood of getting a non-communicable disease by changing risk factors that relate to your lifestyle. These are non-communicable, so you don't really get these from people. Alright, so if you change your lifestyle, there are some disease, the non-communicable disease, that it is likely that you will not be affected like someone who chooses not to change a lifestyle. But a lifestyle change here at 55 would answer this question nicely. So our answer for 55 is going to be C. 56. Which of the following provides the best example of an ecological community? Now, a community, we remember we talk about cells, tissue, organ system, and then we had organism, and then after organism, what we had after organism, we had population, and I think after population we had community, and after community we have ecosystem, and it continued that type of thing. I hope I didn't miss out anyone. So here our best answer is going to be the organisms in a freshwater pond. Look at the word organisms. Now there will be different type of organism, and if there are different types of organism, then we're talking about different type of population. I remember that it's a combination of population that would of course make up a community. So our best answer for 56 is going to be D, as is selected here. Now 57, which of the following statement is true about inorganic fertilizers? Now look at inorganic. It's very important that you pay attention to these words. Inorganic. Alright, which is true. We want to know what is true. Alright, so what is true about it is that it makes nutrients available more quickly. Now inorganic fertilizer is going to be your NPK, the synthetic fertilizer that you purchase. Now organic fertilizer would have been pretty much associated with the others, but your inorganic fertilizer is going to make nutrients available more quickly, more readily to the plant. So the best answer here for 57 is C. We move on to 58 and 59. Now 58 and 9 refers to the following graph, which shows the growth pattern of several populations. Now this one I want you to pay attention to I really want you to look at this, and if your views are different, I really want you to leave it in the comment section just below. We're looking at this, and this particular graph is somewhat related to what we call a sigmoid growth curve, or the S curve. So it's in answering item 58 to 59, match the following statements about the population to one of the options above. Each option may be used once, more than once, or not at all. Now 58 has a good food supply and is not, look at this word, not subjected to environmental stress, or you could say environmental resistance. And environmental stress and environmental resistance, these are going to be like competition, food, space, water, predator disease, that type of thing. So which of these would not be exposed to any of this? So let us look at this. Now the best answer here is going to be B, because it shows what we call an unrealistic growth curve. And this unrealistic growth curve is showing that it is going up and showing no sign of environmental resistance. Now the truth is, no curve can continue without some form of resistance. But this here, as this question asks, is showing that the most suitable answer would have been B. So remember, the question is asking, has a good food supply and is not subjected to environmental stress. Now we say that this one that shows what looks like a J curve, that unrealistic curve. So this is the best answer there. Let's look at the other one. Persons might have different views for this now. 59 has reached equilibrium and there is a delicate balance between the rate of birth and the rate of death. I chose C, and this is why I chose C. Now if you look here, this graph is coming up with a nice F, log phase, experimental, and that type of thing here. Now if you look at this graph here, let us go through this graph. Right about here it is experiencing going through the carrying capacity. So this is the carrying capacity, straight line coming across. And going right across here, the curve starts to show some amount of environmental resistance. And what you will find happening is that it will, should I say, fluctuate, create this trough and this thing going here, where you have it dying off and coming back and that type of thing. So this is where you have this delicate balance. See it? It overshoot, die back, overshoot, die back, that type of thing. So for me, I'm thinking here it is facing environmental resistance. We use these arrows to show the environmental resistance. So it's facing environmental resistance, and as such, it is no longer taking on this J appearance. It is now showing that it is leveling off. This is just where it can survive. Alright, so what is going to happen is going to fluctuate about carrying capacity right here. So for me, it is C. Alright, right there, it is C. Not B, but C. Alright, so there we have it. Has reached equilibrium, and equilibrium for me is the carrying capacity. And there is a delicate balance, and the delicate balance, I said, is this wave-like movement above this that you're going to experience right here. Alright, so if your views are different, feel free to leave your comment in the comment section below this video. Now 60 is our last question for this paper. Which of the following organisms are most important in biodegradation? This is a very nice question. We're looking at two things, and both are responsible for biodegradation, breaking down things. We have the earthworm, which we refer to as a detritivore. Right? They feed on what we call detritus, and they are breaking down stuff as well. We have bacteria, which we refer to as decomposer. But in most cases, after the earthworm would have worked on whatever it's working on, then the bacteria still would have to do some work. So our best answer here is going to be A for 60. So bacteria is the answer for 60. Now this takes us to the end of our answers and explanation for the 2013 CSEC Biology Past Paper, multiple choice 1. I have some advice for persons who have just watched my explanation. Do remember that as you go through this paper and you listen to my explanation, feel free to consult your textbook to ensure that we are all in line. 1. remember that when you look at these questions, you are supposed to read every single thing on the paper. Like I did, ensure that you read every single thing on the paper. Make sure you look at all suggested answers, A, B, C, D, that type of a thing, and make sure that you understand why you're choosing the answer that you have chosen. All right, you want to make sure that you are not trying to say the answer for this question is A and the answer for this question is B. No. A and B is just a representation of the answer. So if we were supposed to look at question 60, I would say bacteria. But you might see this question again looking like this. But however, the suggestions as answer might be different. Or you might see this very same suggestion for answers and there's a slight difference in the question. So you want to ensure that you're reading the questions well, you're looking at your answers well, and most of all, ensure that you are studying. Most of all, ensure that you are studying. Please form your little learning communities. Now you can use technology to have your little meetings. Study in group. Share what you know. For those persons who are not doing so well, see how best you can bring them up with you. Teach them what you have learned. And always remember, if you are in doubt, use the technology that is available. You have YouTube, you have Google, you have your textbook, and of course, you should have your teacher or a teacher that can assist you. Until next time, walk good. Now, remember, while you're walking good, on a Friday evening from 6 to 7, I have my biology live on YouTube that you can share in wherever you are once you're doing the biology exam. My live is pretty much around the topic that I would have covered for the week. So you would have to be following my channel to see what videos I would be covering for that week. And then I'll provide explanation for the videos or further explanation for those videos as would have been expected in your class. So if you didn't have a class because of whatever the limitations are, you can just link me up on a Friday evening, YouTube live on my channel, and of course we could go through those topics that we have been covering for the week. All right.